Jamaican professor Brendan Bain is probably the very first CARICOM national to be the subject of virtually simultaneous protests in Belize and Jamaica. That's because the University of the West Indies professor, who also headed the Caribbean HIV/AIDS Regional Training Initiative, was sacked for his deposition in the UNIBAM case in Belize. He provided expert testimony to say that men who have sex with men have a higher rate of HIV transmission. That stirred outrage from pro-gay and HIV awareness organizations throughout the Caribbean. 32 of them protested to UWI that he had to go, and go he did. Now his supporters and others are saying it is unfair, and today in Belize City, that meant a protest with potent visual imagery. Daniel Ortiz was there.
Today's protesters held up signs and plaques which had conspicuous phrases like, "Look who's discriminating now," and "Bullying is terrible unless the LGBT does it." But probably the most provocative display in support of Professor Brendan Bain was the taping of each protester's mouth with the slogan for the demonstration, "Freedom under attack." It's a powerful message meant to depict that Professor Bain was supposedly punished for his anti-gay remarks, but local gay rights activist Caleb Orozco of UNIBAM mockingly took that power away by wearing the metaphorical muzzle himself.
There's definitely a silencing of free speech, and I mean we saw that with Dr. Bain. He spoke from a professional opinion based upon statistical information and 30 years of experience, and was canned from UWI.
Well, my opponents have every right to create their own facts. My opponents have every right to throw a temper tantrum for the public to see. I have no other response to that.
The main thing that we felt is we didn't want for this week to leave without us sending a loud statement. Number one, of support for Dr. Bain, but number two, to decry the bigger picture of what this means, because even as the Prime Minister said, the culture wars have come to Belize, and this is it. This is the beginnings of what these guys are wanting to do.
For Professor Bain to submit a document on behalf of the churches which believes in not decriminalizing the law, it goes against the grain of public health policy. It also suggests, or in this case, it is the basis of why civil society, which has traditionally worked with CHART, had lost confidence in the effectiveness of his leadership.
This protest or this display doesn't have any causal effects when it comes to the case with Professor Bain, because he has been fired.
No, that's I understand. There's nothing we can do about that. He has grounds for a lawsuit to pursue. I'm not sure if he's going to do that or not, but nevertheless, we need to send a loud statement that no way, we are not going to stand for this kind of stuff. It's bullying, it's victimization.
There is no issue with Professor Bain information regarding that there are high rates among the men who have sex with men population. The issue is he undermined his own position by submitting a document in a court case which goes against the grain of his majority of his colleague working in HIV. Is he inadequately framed the information he presented? More precisely, the message was clear when he chose to submit a document, a report, on behalf of the churches that supported the reinforcement of barriers to a public health policy issue, which many of his colleagues do not agree with.
Have you got in contact with Professor Bain himself? Does he know that this is happening in his name?
I believe that he does. We've been touching base, and a number of the different ones that have been a part of the legal team have kept him up to date. He's very, very grateful, and we want to say to Dr. Bain, for everybody that's out here, we want to say to Dr. Bain that we love you, we support you. You're a man of truth. You spoke the truth, and you paid a heavy price for that. But we're standing with you, and we're not going to sit back and allow these things to happen.
An important issue surrounding Professor Bain's termination is that of the 33 advocacy organizations which pressed UWI to remove him, only 6 of them are gay rights groups. The others are vulnerability outreach organizations which work in the field of HIV and its effects in the different populations.
So it's a bit unfair to say that a gay rights push was what caused Mr. Bain to be removed from his post. There were only 6. The figures are 6 of the 33 or 32.
Yep. Well, I think the media reported that there are 32 other gay organizations. But regardless, we're seeing this happening all over the world. Anybody that speaks out anything against what the LGBT stand for, just like what happened with Audrey Matura, who's out there standing on the side of the road together with us right now. You speak out anything. She didn't even say anything derogatory towards them. And boom, they mobilize, to get this person canned. And so it's victimization, it's bullying. And one of our signs that's out here today is that bullying is terrible, except when it's done by the LGBT.
Does this bring back memories? The Professor Bain case, does this bring back memories for you?
It does, because what it says, and I said it then, that those people are vindictive and spiteful. But when I say those people, I have to make it very clear that I do not want people to make the error of lumping everybody who claims to be an LGBT together, because it is only a few extremists who are doing these extreme things.
And Matura says that singling out Professor Bain for whatever agenda is equivalent to witness tampering, because he was an expert witness in a Supreme Court case.
I want people to know that what happened to Professor Bain too is a direct form of witness intimidation, and in the courts of law that's not allowed. The same way they said that the criminals come and target the guys so that they don't come and speak about any murder they saw, this is what Unibam and the whole 36 of them and all the entities funded by US agencies have done. You have picked out a witness who's an expert, and you've decided you will attack and you will go at everything against him.
Again, my opponents have every right to create their own facts, and that's their job, to propagandize an issue and misinform the public. Lying is part of my opponent's history. It will continue, and I have much respect for their consistent lying to the public. Going back to your question, or going back to your inquiry, they can say whatever they want. At the end of the day, it was a public health policy issue responding to an issue around HIV, not what he said in the court.
I am here today to stand in solidarity with Dr. Bain. I believe that we have a doctor who had put forth scientific data and evidence on behalf of the court case, as it relates to Unibam and Section 53. And I believe that it was clearly unjust for any man, regardless of their political affiliation, regardless of their ideologies. When scientific data is being presented, I do not see any basis or reason for a man to be victimized by the Unibam organization here in this country. And I believe that if I don't take a stand now, I might be next. And so might as well I stand up now.
I believe my opponents have had 2.5 years of speaking crap, not only about me, but to the general public about my community. And I don't believe we've issued any lawsuit against them for liable positions, for misinformation, for outright lies they have presented to the public. I have every excuse, more than anybody else, to lay liable suits against quite a few places, including a couple newspapers. One, I believe, was labeled me once Caleb the Traitor, which I did not find funny at all. But in the spirit of debate and constructive dialogue, I personally have let those issues slide, because we have to establish at some point a mature understanding of what the issues are.
Bain's termination came a few days after the Jamaican press started reporting on the matter, and so the toughest critics in that country have suggested that the administration of the university was spineless for caving to the outrage of the gay lobby, outrage which was pushing for Bain's removal. But according to the Vice Chancellor of the university, that's not how it really went. He granted an interview to our colleague at Nationwide News in Jamaica and explained that there were months of consultation before Bain was terminated as the head of the CHART initiative.
This matter, as you know, has generated considerable controversy, and of course the popular belief is that, not popular, but those who are saying that we are spineless are basically taking the view that we simply gave in to the demands of the gay community. But in truth, we came to this position after several months of discussion with many groups.
Vice Chancellor Harris said in that interview that it was a very difficult decision to terminate Bain.